Yeah, stop joining the queues. Yeah. The queues are getting longer. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
Namaskaram Swamiji. Sri Vaishnavi is my name. Sorry if it is a very ignorant question. I've heard in one of the lectures that the law of karma actually does not apply to a realized or an enlightened one. We being a samsari and still doing our karma, which creates again the cycle of cause and effect and birth and death. I'm being greedy now, I'm sorry to use this word. Now that I have this opportunity of standing here and understanding the Vedanta and everything, how do I, and know the truth and having the conviction, what do I do to break this cycle? I do understand that it is a gradual and also a wow moment, which happens by grace. How do I get this grace?
Right. Just wanted to make an observation. The quality of questions. One of the senior members of the HEB who's organizing all this said to me, I'm amazed at the quality of the questions which have been coming in the last few days. So that's one thing we thank the audience for, the depth of thinking and the quality of questions. See, this overcoming the law of karma, freedom from causality, this is how moksha, freedom, is understood across Indian philosophies, across Indian spiritual traditions. You see, how does anybody, in general, does an Indian, Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, or Sikh, how do we understand moksha, freedom from this cycle of birth and death? What is fueling this cycle of birth and death? It is karma, cause and effect, an unbroken chain of karma. Freedom from that is called moksha. So yes, freedom from karma is moksha. If somebody has attained moksha, is beyond karma. Now, this is across all Indian philosophies. However, to make it more precise, your question was if somebody is enlightened, and we are talking in the context of Advaita Vedanta. Please let that go without saying. So, if a person is enlightened, is that person affected by karma anymore? That is the question? That's the first?
No, I understand that they are not affected.
Yeah,
but as a samsari, I am still a seeker. How do I, because I have to go through this law of karma.
How do I get up?
How do I break this cycle?
Yes.
And with grace, how do I get the grace?
Right. But first, it's an interesting thing. If you say an enlightened person, a jivan mukta in this world, is not affected, I know you don't ask that, but you can ask, why not affected by the law of karma? Because the person is living in this body. So it's a very subtle point here. The enlightened person is not a person. If you ask the enlightened person, are you a person? The first answer would be, of course, I'm just like you. If you ask, really? Then he will smile and say, or she will smile and say, no, not really. Really, I am Brahman. Brahmaivaham, natu Brahmavit. Manisha Panchakam, Shankaracharya says. Is Brahman affected by the law of karma? Of course not. So as Brahman, that enlightened person, from our perspective, enlightened person, knows that I am Brahman and therefore entirely beyond the law of karma. That's why. Because you realize you are Brahman, then you are not affected by the law of karma at all, by karma at all. Vivekananda puts it very simply. Good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. Good, good, bad, bad is law of karma. Dharma, punya, sukha. Good, good. Adharma, papa, dukkha. Bad, bad. And none escape the law. This is the law of karma. But, and whosoever wears the form wears the chain also. There is a prarabdha karma which has given rise to this body. But, then he says, what does Vedanta do? Far beyond name and form is Atman ever free. Brahman is ever free, beyond law of karma. Know thou art that. You are actually Brahman even now, and even now you are free of the law of karma. This is what we have to realize. Upon enlightenment, it's not that, oh, till now I was bound by karma. Now, after a lot of hearing lots of YouTube talks and 1 or 2 talks at PGP Hall, I have gone beyond the law of karma. Great. No, we will never realize things like that. When we realize, we will see I always was free. was free of the law of karma. On the other side of it, so that's from the realization of the enlightened one. But coming back to our practical way of looking at things, the body of that enlightened being, whom we think is the body of the enlightened being doesn't think it's their body. But the body of that enlightened being is subject to prarabdha karma. Will continue for a while and will get the effects of karma. And then the body will also perish and die. But the enlightened one is free. Because we are so tied to this body identification, we suffer along with the body. One of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakyas, very famous. Atmanam ched vijaniyat ayam asmiti purushaha kimicchan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. If perchance one day I were to realize I am this infinite consciousness, in that case, after that realization, for whose sake, for the sake of what will I continue to suffer along with the body? What a beautiful this observation, powerful. One of my most favorite lines from the Upanishads. So, answer to your question is, how do I go beyond the law of karma? All our spiritual teaching is to take us beyond the law of karma. The direct answer is to know ourselves, realize Aham Brahmasmi. How do I realize that? Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, supported by regular devotion and meditation, supported by selfless action. So Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, supported by the other yogas, that is the way. All of us can and should practice it. You want formula? Somebody asked me, you don't give me all these long talks. One word. Each, not even one sentence. Each yoga, one word. Or like one phrase. Karma yoga, selfless, not selfish. Bhakti yoga, love, not desire. Dhyana yoga, focus, concentration, not distraction. And Jnana yoga, self-knowledge, not other knowledge. This is what we do. Gentleman here. Tell us your name.
Hari Om Swamiji. Two questions. Role of Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Madhusudan, yes.
Role of Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Shruti Pramana. One traditional Advaita interpretation is Jnana Prapti does not require Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Yeah.
Because it is a Manasa Vyapara and thoughtless Asamprajnata Samadhi cannot give knowledge. For Jnana Pala Anubhava, it is an option, but again not necessary, because there is enough Shruti Pramana of a Jnani having that Anubhava in the waking state, even when not in Samadhi. Would request your thoughts on that.
Yes.
The second question is on Shruti Pramana, where Shankaracharya-ji has clearly said that establish the primacy of Shruti Pramanam for Jnana, and logic plays a secondary role. But Acharya's Bhashyam himself is filled with logic. Two questions on that. One is, he is given all that logic for an unprepared mind for Marana, and also to establish that Shruti is not dependent on logic, but it doesn't oppose logic as well.
Yes.
And if the question is, does this taking it on face value mean it's faith and not knowledge? Then is the answer that we're talking about Shruti as a pramana,
got
an
it,
independent
yes.
source of knowledge.
Both of these questions are highly technical, but very important from the Advaitic perspective, and it needs to be cleared up. Second one, I will not say much. You have answered the questions yourself. So Shruti Pramana. Basically what he is asking is, in traditional Advaita Vedanta, you are not supposed to, let's put it this way, argue your way to God. Logic is secondary to Shruti. Upanishads tell you you are Brahman. And all your reasoning can show you why that is reasonable, why it is not against reason, not contradicting our experience. Reason can only play a secondary role. Swami Vivekananda said, the intellect is only a street sweeper. It can sweep aside obstacles. So, it is true. I agree and I understand the classical Vedantic, the traditional emphasis on Shruti Pramana, because unconstrained reason by itself cannot lead to to the realization that I am Brahman. If it could, by now it would have. It would have been an established fact of science that I am Brahman, but it's not. It doesn't lead there. It can lead to a kind of agnosticism. Up to that. Beyond that, Shruti points out what is true. Now this is a sticky point in the modern age because of multiple influences. What happens is, right now if you say such things, people will say, immediately people will, and your own mind will tell you, oh, we have been asked to believe in something. Whereas Advaita Vedanta is not a path of belief as is, say, a dualistic bhakti path. A dualistic path of bhakti, devotion to God, that will not work unless you start with belief. Advaita just requires enough shraddha in the Shruti and the teacher so that you can pursue inquiry. One must understand. It's not enough to believe things. And Shruti will point out something and that will make it clear. Up to that pointing out of the Shruti, Tattvamasi, it will point out and it will become absolutely clear to you. Up to that pointing out, reason is necessary, meditation is necessary, devotion is necessary, selfless work is necessary, all those things will take you up to that point, especially argumentation. The vichara will take you, self-inquiry will take you to that point. And Shruti does the final thing, but then experience, and here I'm going to be very careful, it will lead to the first question. Already existing experience. Shruti will just uncover the veil in our mind which is saying that I am not Brahman. I am not seeing Brahman. The ultimate reality is something else. I am this body mind. Here is a material world. This ignorance will be removed by Shruti. After that, will you experience Brahman? Yes, but it's not an extraordinary new mystical experience. It's something continuously available to everybody all the time. It's just that we don't see. So that's what Shruti does. Why I don't generally stress on it, somebody asked me. The traditional method would be say, you believe in Shruti, Shruti tells you this. The reason is immediately people will think that, oh, you're asking us to believe. Now the first question is a subtle question. Does enlightenment, Brahma Jnana, depend on Nirvikalpa Samadhi? The answer is a nuanced yes and no. Precisely, if you ask precisely, philosophically speaking, from an Advaitic perspective, is Nirvikalpa Samadhi the way to Brahma Jnana? Answer is no. It is as simple as any knowledge that we want in this life. They'll tell you, go to the National University, sign up for the class, sit in the professor's class, listen to the lectures, read the notes, the handouts, think well upon it. And if you're still not getting it, the professor will tell you, sit quietly and intensely, you will get it. And if somebody says, just before getting it, you have to sit quietly. So I will just sit quietly. I will not go to the class. I will not listen to your lectures. I will not read the texts. I will not even think about and I will sit quietly. I will get knowledge of physics. Impossible. Impossible. That final sitting quietly is a discipline. But that's not the source of knowledge. The source of knowledge is already the text and the teacher who has already given you that knowledge. It's the thinking and sitting quietly just removes the obstacles in my mind for knowledge already transmitted by the teacher, the text and the teacher. The slogan is Shravana Deva Jnanam. The orthodox view in Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. From Shravana comes Jnana. Reasoning and meditation just remove the obstacles. Manana is supposed to remove something called asambhavana, and meditation, nididhyasana, is supposed to remove a problem called viparita bhavana, impossibility problem and contrary tendencies. Okay. Now, why did I say yes, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is necessary? So I will refer you to Madhusudan Saraswati in his Gudhartha Deepika, the lamp illumining the hidden intent of Bhagavad Gita. In one place, I've forgotten the exact, I think 6th chapter probably, or 4th chapter, he says, this question he takes up. He says, from ancient times, Maheshwara, Shiva, has taught these two paths, the path of yoga and the path of knowledge. And then he says, he makes an interesting observation. For those, he says, Sankhyans actually, followers of Hiranyagarbha, he says the Sankhyans, for those who consider this world to be real, there is no other way except samadhi to attain enlightenment. Then he goes on to say, but those who follow the path of Vedanta, who see that the world is an appearance of yourself, your own consciousness, you need not blank out the world in samadhi. By sheer inquiry, you can become illumined through Atma Vichara, the Vedantic inquiry. And then he goes on to say a very clear statement. Therefore, our revered Bhagavat Pada Shankara, he doesn't use the name, he says our revered master Shankara. This our revered master has not taught the path of samadhi for the followers of Advaita Vedanta. He makes a clear statement there. This is Madhusudan Saraswati. So this is the position of classical Advaita Vedanta. One more point and I'm done. Now come to practical spirituality. Do we need to meditate or not? Absolutely. Not that Advaita Vedanta needs your meditation. Not that Upanishad needs your meditation. We need it because we have made a mess of our minds. Selfless work, devotion, meditation. Without that, the kind of people most of us are, I know I am, without that, we will not be able to assimilate this truth. We will hear it again and again and we'll complain, this is intellectual. Either we'll complain, I don't get it. Or we will say, I got it, but then what is next? This I got it and what is next shows that I have not really got it. Or I got it, I have realized, I am absolutely convinced that I am Brahman, but in life I can't express it. All these problems are there because of those initial lack of preparation. So all these issues are very well discussed in a book called Jivan Mukti Viveka by Vidyaranya Swami. There he takes up this question. So Nirvikalpa Samadhi should be practiced or not? His final answer is yes. For what? He calls it Manonasha. Vasanakshaya is necessary, purity of mind is necessary or not for Brahmagyana? He says it is necessary for Jivan Mukti. He calls it Vasanakshaya. For Tattvagyana, realization that I am Brahman, that much he says Atma Vichara is enough. But if you want Nirvikalpa, if you want Jivan Mukti, which is the goal actually, then you need all of them. You need purity of mind to the highest degree. We need concentration of mind up to the degree of samadhi and the fullest realization, complete conviction and clarity, Aham Brahmasmi. All three together. He calls them Vasanakshaya, Manonasha and Tattvagyana. All three together, Jivan Mukti. Just the clarity and conviction I am Brahman, not equal to Jivan Mukti. Ma Sharada put it even more simply. She gave initiation to a devotee. And then the devotee said, after taking mantra diksha from Ma Sharada, he said, suppose I don't repeat the mantra? She said, my child, you have taken mantra from me. Be assured that at the point of death, you will be released. And she used another language. She said, Thakur will come for you at the point of death. She would always give credit to Sri Ramakrishna. But the point is that you have taken initiation from me, you will be released at the point of death. However, if you want joy in this life, you must practice. In this life, if you want joy. So this is the answer. Practically, highly recommended. Devotion, selfless work, meditation. Philosophically, the question you are asking, this is an important question. One needs to be clear. In Advaita Vedanta, Vichara is the method. In Patanjali Yoga, Samadhi is the method. In Naradiya Bhakti, devotion, Bhakti is the method, Prapatti is the method. Yeah. I remember once, Sri Ramakrishna's Advaita Guru, Totapuri. So somebody asked Bhuteshananji Maharaj, Swami Bhuteshananji, that is Nirvikalpa Samadhi needed for Brahmagyana? Exactly the same question. He was the 12th president of our order. He said no. Then somebody asked, the same questioner asked him, it's printed. But we see Totapuri taught Nirvikalpa Samadhi to Sri Ramakrishna. Then Bhuteshananji Maharaj answers, then you must understand that it was a synthetic path of yoga and Vedanta together. That Nirvikalpa Samadhi part comes from the yogic side of it. And that's also true. Post-Shankara Advaitins, if you see the sadhus actually practicing in the Himalayas and other places, do they meditate or not? Yes, they do. They do. So that's the answer. Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Hari Om Swamiji, my name is Vandana.
The queue is growing, I think. Yes, go on.
Yeah, Hari Om Swamiji, thank you for that session. My doubt in sadhana is, see, we understand that we are all mirror images of one another inherently, right? We are all divine and we have to see the divine in each other. Also, we are also told that the flaws that sometimes we see in others are actually the hidden cracks within us, right? So how do we address that root? How do I know what are those hidden cracks when I see somebody angry or whatever it is? How do I get to that root is sometimes...
True, it's not easy, but it's actually Swami Vivekananda says that. If you see flaws in others, he says, weep that you see faults in others.
Right.
Because you're seeing it in yourself. It's there. How is it possible? I really see a fault in another person. But she's the same person. If it was your little kid, a toddler, the toddler's anger or misbehavior is fun for you. From an enlightened person's perspective, the so-called flaws in us, they don't take it too seriously. One thing I've seen in senior sadhus, spiritually advanced people, strangely enough, they see and magnify the little good in us. And many problems which I see are big problems, I'm struggling with it, they don't care at all for that. Not that they don't see it, they see it well. But it's not important to them. So, we should see everybody is none other than this Kshetragya. Who is Kshetragya? Krishna. Now, if Krishna is choosing to play in this form, well, it's fun. He's choosing to be irritable, frustrating, annoying. Fun. But it's Krishna. I met this sadhika in the Himalayas. She saw everybody as the child Krishna, Gopala. When somebody asked her that, aren't there annoying people? People would come at all times and say, Mataji khilao, and she has to cook and feed. Once she had 102-degree fever, and Mataji khilao, and so she started cooking. And somebody asked her, don't you feel irritated? All these unknown people come and they keep pestering you, khilao, khilao, please feed us, Mataji. She was a sannyasini belonging to the Madhva, the Madhva Vedanta from Udupi. So she thought, and she answered, so don't you get irritated by the behavior of these people? And her answer was so touching. She said, हाँ बाबा, बहुत तरह के लोग आते हैं, लेकिन बाबा सब गोपाल हैं. She is not unaware. She is an insensitive person, irritating person, dishonest person, but still Gopala. Her attention is on Gopala, not on the personality flaws. It's not easy, but it can be done, and it should be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Pranam Swamiji. My name is Ashutosh. This is a question regarding the journey from knowing who you are to being who you are. And which sometimes I question the efficacy and purpose of practices and effort. Because the effort is being undertaken by the mind-body, which is an object in the field, in order to know and be the ultimate subject. So how can the subject, which can only know itself, be known by the object? And you read about, Bhagwan Ravana getting enlightened, it just happened to them, or Eckhart Tolle, and you wonder how you can get there by effort. And the other question related is that if you are seeking, then you're trying to get to a place where you are the permanent self who doesn't have any seeking or resisting, and this is another layer of seeking which you are adding.
All right, since time is very limited, I'll give short answers. I'll give the precise answer to your question, but I will not explain it. All right, so you have to listen carefully. How can the subject know itself, or the object know the subject? Correct. The object can never know the subject. The thing is, the subject is self-luminous. Kshetragya is shining, self-luminous. The light illumines everything, and you don't need another light to illumine the light. Right? So by the light of this, we know the entire hall, and that we don't need another light to illumine this light. Light is revealing itself. The subject is self-luminous. The self-luminosity, swaprakasha nature of the subject is hidden by ignorance. Our spiritual practices, which are all in the object, kshetra, mind, just remove the layer of ignorance. All practices have a negative result. Negative result means to remove the obstacles. They don't catch hold. You can't catch hold of God, even in bhakti. In jnana, that translates into the object cannot illumine the subject. One great Kashmiri Shaiva philosopher, I think it is Utpal Deva or Abhinavagupta, he says, you're going to read Vijnana Bhairava, which has 112 dharanas or meditation techniques to realize that you are Shiva. Before that, he says, none of these techniques can reveal to you that you are Shiva. Thinking that these meditation techniques can reveal to you that you are Shiva is like asking a pot to illumine the sun. So that seems like a discouragement. No, that's the beauty of it. He has revealed the entire secret there. Who is the sun? You are the sun. The pot is the mind. Try to understand that. That itself is a direct doorway. I'm stunned at the insight, the sophistication, subtlety, and humor of these philosophers, appearing to discourage you. None of these meditation techniques can reveal that you are Shiva. Has given you a doorway, direct doorway into realization that you are Shiva. You are the sun. Mind is the pot. Try to understand that. Second, does seeking add one more layer? Yes and no. That is the layer which will cut out all other layers. So seeking is absolutely necessary. Without seeking, we will never get anywhere. We'll just sink back into worldliness again, or into despair. So seeking is absolutely necessary. At the last moment, you will see the seeking mind is also an object. It does not need, it cannot find what it is seeking. You are that which is you are seeking. You are the seeker, and you are the sought also. Then seeking ceases. Did the seeking mind find the Atman? Now I have found Atman. I found mobile phone, I found flower, I found bottle, I found Atma. Good. Will it happen? Never. So I will never find the Atman. More than that, you will realize you are the Atman you always were. Good. Let's take the question here.
Yeah. Pranam Swamiji. My name is Aradhna Jha Srivastav. And my first question is, if all beings are same and one, then why do we use Punyatma, Papatma, Divyatma and Paramatma to describe? Is it like an indicator of the consciousness level?
No.
Or
so, direct answer to that. Consciousness is one and same in Advaita Vedanta. It is one existence, consciousness, bliss. Absolutely the same, and we are all same there. But difference is in body. Difference is in the mind. Difference is in the personality. See, screen is exactly the same. But every place in the screen there is a picture, and the pictures are not the same. So names and forms are different. Another way of putting it is, at the paramarthik, the absolute level of truth, it is the same reality, one homogeneous reality. At the level of appearance, many varieties appearing. So punyatma, papatma, all those things will become reasonable. Yes.
And the second question.
All right, hold on, not today. All right, I'm going to speed up now.
Yeah, Nivedita here.
Yes.
My question is, if I am pursuing bhakti yoga, so isn't my devotion enough? Why are rituals important?
Rituals are concrete philosophy. Take rituals as expressions of your devotion. Rituals are important because of certain feature of our psychology, of our personality. We like repetition. We like doing things with our hands, with things in the world. Manipulating things in the world. We like doing that. That should be used as part of bhakti. That's why an incense, an image or a picture, a flower. If you want spiritual advice, all teachers will tell you, do some ritual, even if you don't like it, even if it's sort of mechanical, keep it minimal, but do it. You don't have to do elaborate. Elaborate rituals can be a problem. They will cover over, like weeds covering a garden, they will cover over the actual bhakti. The actual bhakti is most important. Love is most important. But showing that love through action, and that action can be ritual. It need not be only ritual. It can be other things also. But ritual is a form of showing your bhakti, expressing your bhakti through ritual.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hari Om Swamiji. My name is Srinivas. The question that I have is from the absolute truth perspective. The absolute truth in a way projects out the material universe, which basically has the space, time and causation aspects to it. But from an enlightened person who has kind of escaped the space, time and causation part of the material universe, does that person still experience time and flow of time? Because that is more of a material universe aspect.
As long as the body is there, as long as an embodiment is there, so does he experience time? The answer has to be careful. You see, yes, and again, no. Why yes? It's like you realize this is a movie. Are you experiencing, say, Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter fighting against evil sorcerer? Are you experiencing it? You will say yes. And if I ask, really? You will say, no, of course not. So if you ask an enlightened person, are you seeing the world? You say, of course. Are you mad? You are seeing it, I am also seeing it. Really, are you seeing a world? No, of course not. It's Brahman only. Time, space and object, desha, kala, vastu, they are appearances of Brahman due to Maya. Seeing, literally, are they seeing? Yes, literally they are seeing. In knowledge, what do they know? It is all Brahman. It's only one reality is shining forth in these ways. Just like watching a movie. We'll answer give two answers. Are you seeing it? Yes, of course. Really? Are there magicians and sorcerers in this movie, Harry Potter movie? You will say, of course not. It's a movie. Yeah, in that sense.
Pranam Swamiji. My question is, how do I remain detached with my loved ones?
Because you love them. Yes, no. There's some poster I saw. Letting go is love. Attachment is holding on to something that is not holding on to you. What will you hold on to? Everything is running away from you all the time. Change is going on. Recognize that. Love is giving, not trying to hold on to somebody or something. Trying to hold on to somebody or something is a sign of delusion, because you really cannot hold on to anybody. The world is continuously changing. Recognize that. See love as a giving, not as a taking, not as a holding on. That is detachment. Yes.
Maharaj Pranam. I had a question on the practices that we covered today. Right? It was really enlightening when you started by saying before you can be humble, you need to have self-respect. Similarly, could you touch on Ahimsa in context of not running away from battles in your life? Right?
Absolutely.
And sense control in the context of a householder.
Absolutely. So all of these are supposed to be understood in context. Ahimsa. Ahimsa for a monk. Ahimsa for a police officer. Ahimsa for a soldier. They are bound to be different. They are bound to be different. If you mix them up, it will not be spiritual practice. It will just lead to confusion and delusion and harm actually to yourself and to society. But remember, the principle remains the same. So why in America there are all these cases of excessive use of force by police officers? Police officers are allowed to use violence, so what is the problem? The problem is this principle of Ahimsa. You will use violence, but only to the extent permissible by law, by your training, and as the occasion, situation demands. Anything beyond that is punishable. Why? Because that becomes Himsa then. You are lashing out in anger, in a difficult situation, no doubt. I read about this martial arts master, a Japanese karate master was teaching in the early days of teaching karate in the West, in England. So one of his English students asked him, he was mugged. He was mugged. Somebody showed a knife and then took away money. And he quietly gave the money and came away. And he was asked, you have taught us so many disciples and so many have become black belts under you. And now when you are in a situation where you can use your martial arts skills, you quietly surrender your money. Why? We all know You can destroy that mugger in seconds. Why didn't you do it? And his answer was, he showed his hand and hit like this. How can I use these on a human being? I smash wood and stones and ice with these. How can I use these on a human being? I wanted money, give him money. So this is control. Not the control, not the ahimsa of the weak, it's the ahimsa of the strong. So the strong, if they have to use violence also, it will be minimized to the limited amount possible. Yeah.
Hari Om Swamiji, my name is Aarti. In your talks on Bhakti Yoga, we understand that through Bhakti alone it is possible to attain the highest. And you talk about formless realization akin to a light streaming through a clear glass, and realization with form, which is where a devotee has an experience of enlightenment through the vision of God. So my question is, in realization with form, which still comes under the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that there is a Nama Rupa Vyavara of God. So can we still call that kind of realization as the ultimate, which is enlightenment, or it is one step below?
All right. So this kind of language, that clear light streaming through, and the name and form, this was used by Sri Ramakrishna. Somebody took him to show how photographs are taken. In those days, photographic plate, they would put silver nitrate on it and take a picture. It's a big elaborate affair, not like selfie or like this. So he immediately used it for showing us the distinction between jnana and bhakti. He said, masala, this coating, if you put it on the glass, then an image is captured. If you don't put that coating on the glass, he noticed from the photographer, no image will be captured on the glass. He says it's exactly like that. The jnani realizes the truth as it is, as existence, consciousness, bliss. The devotee, he realizes the same truth, filtering through his conception of Ishvara, Bhagavan, Krishna, Rama, his Ishta Devata. This is the difference. Now, is it the same reality? The answer to your question, is it one step lower or... So these are very difficult questions actually. I'll give a one-line answer. Is it one step lower or is it the same? Answer is depends. From Sri Ramakrishna's perspective, it is the same. Because it's the same reality. If you dress it up with a form of Ma Kali or Krishna or Vishnu, or no form at all, it is the same reality. But if you take classical Advaita Vedanta and if you ask, is it the ultimate realization, they will say no. If I have an experience of God in this form, it is wonderful. You will be praised by your Advaita teacher, but he will say, my dear child, go one step forward and realize you and that what you saw are one and the same reality. That you must realize. Advaita is little uncompromising there. Aham Brahmasmi realization must come. One must say that Advaita Vedanta insists on. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Thank you for accompanying me on all my morning walks for the last 3 years.
Thank you.
My question is, in Swapna state, it is a kshetra by itself. I win a lottery, but I don't find the money when I wake up. However, there are a few things that happen in Swapna which actually results in my wakeful state. Like a nightmare, I have sweat on me. At least for the men and the boys, I can say, if I have a wet dream, I have soiled my underwear. The question is, that kshetra has some activities which results in a reality in its origin.
Yeah.
My question is, in this Vyavaharika layer that we are living in today, this me, this body, this room, are there any things that happen here which can snap me out
Yes.
to the kshetrajya layer?
Yes.
Just the way it happens in a dream which we all know.
Yes, yes. You're right. The reason why such things happen is the dream is actually rooted in waking. It is a limitation of the waking state. And it's used as an example. But this waking world is also rooted based, it has a substratum in consciousness, Satchidananda. Just as the waking body actually is the basis for the dream experience going on, similarly Satchidananda is the basis for this waking experience going on. And that Satchidananda is present right here. It's because of that Satchidananda we feel it is. Man is, woman is, table is, chair is, hall is. We also feel awareness, consciousness. We also have this hunger for fulfillment, value, that is Sat Chit Ananda, but in a very distorted form it is coming up to us. So it's right here, and this whole waking experience is based on it. And we are trying to trigger those experiences or that knowledge which will snap us out of this sort of half waking, half dreaming what we are going through now. Yeah, it's a crucial thing. There are these fault lines in our waking experience which Advaita tries to, using modern language, hack it so that we can penetrate through to our real nature.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Chitra. Under Advaita, the body and the mind are objects. In this case, what would be the Advaitans' view on issues such as death penalty, euthanasia, abortion? Other religions seem to have fixed views. But in Vedanta, what is the dharmic view?
Yes. These are important issues of ethics. Now, it's not that we do not have certain fixed views. They are, for that you don't have to come to Advaita Vedanta. We have something called the Dharma Shastras. There are codes of ethics for Hindus. But the unique thing about the Hindus is the ethics to be practiced in society, they depend on time and circumstance and civilization, right? So you can adapt it to this 21st century, to Singapore, to New York, wherever, or to India, wherever you are living, you can adapt those ethics and you can have a new Dharma Shastra. Notice that Hindus have multiple Dharma Shastras. You can either do it this way or that way or the other way. This multiplicity shows that as far as social practice is concerned, as far as custom is concerned, as far as law is concerned, it is always subject to change. Then what do you mean? Is there nothing fixed in ethics? There are certain universal values. Non-violence is a universal value. Truth is a universal value. Self-control is a universal value. Now you have to apply them to the particular circumstance. And this is a beautiful idea. This allows Hindus to upgrade and develop their ethical practices according to the needs of society. What is the point of all these ethics as far as Advaita is concerned? As long as it ensures that you are an ethical person, you have a preparation for the higher spiritual life. That's all that Advaita Vedanta wants for you, that you are a good person. In what way will you be a good person in the society where you live in? That is up to many things. Your ethics, the constitution of the country, the law of the country, social norms, something that might be quite ethical 500 years ago, completely unethical now. Something that is ethical now might have been unethical 500 years ago, and one must respect that. So that's the beauty of the Hindu approach to these things. You develop your own environmental ethics, your own ethics on gender, race, abortion, all these things. And there is sufficient material for you to build up a Hindu perspective on these ideas, on these issues.
हेलो नमस्कार स्वामी जी, मेरा नाम किशोर है। अभी आपने जो आंसर दिया अहिंसा के ऊपर, उसमें भी क्लैरिटी नहीं है, क्योंकि वो कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट हो रहा है जो आपका प्रीवियस आपने कहा कि रियलाइजेशन के लिए अहिंसा करनी चाहिए एट टॉप मोस्ट लेवल, बट लेटर आप कह रहे हैं कि पुलिसमैन को अहिंसा अलाउड है, हिंसा अलाउड है। तो इन दैट केस रियलाइजेशन तो फिर पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाएगा।
नहीं, why not? Notice what happened after the teachings of Krishna to Arjuna. Maximum himsa.
Yeah.
Maximum himsa. So it's not an easy thing to understand.
But it sounds contradictory.
It seems contradictory, but it is not. If your goal is God realization, if your goal is Brahma Jnana, then you see your situation, in that situation, what is the most ethical way for you to live? Is your goal ahimsa as such, or is it God realization? So in Hinduism, these ethics, for a spiritual seeker, these ethics are what are called instrumental. They will help you to enlightenment. So in my situation, in this context, what will I do which will help me towards God realization? Arjuna actually thought like that. He said, let me run away from here. Then Krishna taught him Advaita Vedanta, you are the Atma. Arjuna said, very good, I will realize that, I don't want to fight this battle. Krishna said, if you want to realize that, you have to fight this battle. But earlier you are fighting it for selfish ends, now you do it as karma yoga. That itself becomes a spiritual practice. It's not easy to understand, but there's a certain logic to it.
So selfless Ahimsa is okay, is it?
No. Selfless Ahimsa is not okay. That's again misunderstanding. There's a picture of Gita is, selflessly I will kill everybody. No. Selflessly you seek God realization. Then in your situation what is necessary? Otherwise, in USA, luckily not here, it's a very law-abiding country. USA, mass murderer will say, Gita has permitted me, I will go and shoot everybody. So this is almost every other week you are seeing this. Is Gita saying that? Not at all. In your situation, what are you supposed to do? Do that selflessly. Arjuna's situation was battle. Arjuna's situation was battle. Therefore, he had to do that himself.
Still not clear.
No, it's not easy. I remember I was in Professor Amartya Sen's class, and he has said this many times, so I can repeat it. He said, I don't see how Mahatma Gandhi derived his non-violence from the Gita. Gita is Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight violence. But Mahatma Gandhi is very clear that his non-violence is derived from the Gita. See, the message of Gita is not violence.
But in that case, the whole country is going through suffering, and you are sticking for your self-realization, you are sticking to Ahimsa. Is it right?
For your self-realization, you are sticking to Ahimsa, whole country is suffering. In that case, what is your duty?
Yeah,
see, this is exactly what the Gita is saying. Okay. You have to, in that case, if your duty is to be a policeman, politician, soldier, you have to do that. That's why Gita is so practical. Otherwise, if it was absolutely only Ahimsa and only Ahimsa, then you have to cut out everything else, give up everything, become a monk and stay like that. Then it is not practical. See, then spirituality is not practical for a policeman, not practical for a soldier, not practical for a politician, not practical for an industrialist, not practical for a businessman. But how will you make spirituality practical for everybody? That's what Gita is telling you.
Thank you.
Yes. Last question.
Namaste, Swamiji. My name is Advait.
Oh, good. We are ending with Advait. Yes.
My question is, so there are different ways, right? Bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, as you mentioned. And I also understand the concept of sthairya that you just now explained, right? Like at least stick to one and then carry on. But then how do you actually decide like which one is right for you? As in, for example, I see my grandmother mostly like following Bhakti yoga because it's very simple, she was doing Bhakti and all. So is it like path will automatically find you, you just keep on your seeking?
True.
Like the way they say Guru will find you.
Guru will find you, path will find you. It could be your family tradition, something you have received from your grandmother. It could be something you have read or something that pulls you, a spiritual teaching, a spiritual master, and that becomes your path, right? So pick one in the whole range of paths available. In Hinduism, whole range is there, which calls to you. If you see it is good and it is true. Vivekananda gave some tests of truth. That which makes you selfish is untrue. That which makes us selfless is true. That which makes you strong is truth. That which makes you weak, reject as poison. That which makes us united is true. That which divides is untrue. There are some tests. You apply to the teacher, the path, and see for yourself, just to be careful. Good. And then you pick that, hold on to that, and be open to everything else. Read, learn, no problem. But you should have something that is your own home practice, your home base, your the ground on which you are standing. On that note, let us end. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.